Right here in front of you is a Rosemary zombie girl from Spirit Halloween. I believe this is like a 2014 model because it's got the modern mono plug Tri-Me connector on it. I actually got this in a lot of other animatronics a year ago now, which is crazy to think about. It's been that long. But this one I got actually for free, but it's actually got some problems with it. And let's set it up and show you guys what the problems are before we hopefully fix her up. So right off the bat, she's missing one of her feet, so I'll have to figure out something with that. All right, she is set up. Pretty easy setup, but let's put some batteries in her and see what she does. So we got mouth movement, head tilt. That's good. I'm not seeing any head turn. So that's one problem. Is she gonna lurch out? Okay. All right. So two problems with her right now. Let's turn her off. No head turn from side to side and no lurching, which is the most important thing. So let's take her down to the workbench and see if we can get this thing working. All right, so let us begin. When I had her together upstairs still, I could hear this motor in here working, trying to spin this piece to release it. So what that tells me is that it looks like the gear is okay, but I believe that there's a belt on this side over here, and I'm wondering if that belt has just come off or has worn down and broke. So I hear it going to try to lurch outwards, but I don't hear it retracting, which makes sense because the relay or the motion toggle switch is already being clicked. So we have to open this thing up, and the easiest way to do that, I believe, is to take off all of these screws here. Okay. There we have it. All those screws. It's important to keep track of all the screws because right now it seems pretty straightforward, but once you start opening everything up, it can get pretty hectic pretty fast. So here's the internals here, and there's your belt. So it's actually on it. Let's see that. Does it spin? It's spinning freely. I guess we can try it again here. Hold on. Well, I stand corrected. I've never opened one of these before, but apparently there's another motor here, and that's what the one I was hearing. This one is not spinning at all, and that's where our problem is, because that thing is not opening up this gear and releasing this piston to go that way. I'm not really entirely sure what this is for. All it does is it spins this little cam right here, right there, which just has a toggle switch. So I'm wondering if that has to do with like telling it when to stop this motor. It seems a little strange to me. Why can't they just code it? I'm a little confused with this gearbox here. I didn't even realize that. So there's 2 motors in this base for whatever reason. But this one needs to get going, or else this will never be released like that. See how it does that? That's what it needs to do. Maybe that fixed it. Let's try again. Just want to see if that's going to change anything. Okay, here we go. Look at this. Look at that. So that just reset. So is it going to work now? It did. Okay. Okay. So what was that about? Was it just a goof? Maybe it got out of sync and now it's back in sync? Maybe? So I'm going to call that a win. It might have just been out of sync, because I've seen that happen before with some other animatronics. I'm just really confused with this second relay. So I'm wondering if like one of the relays was like still like opened or closed and confusing the board for some reason. But now it seems like it's working. The reason why I cut out there was because the force was so strong that it popped out the batteries. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that that would be fine. It's because it's missing the screw cap. I might replace that, find a screw. There we go. Now that shouldn't happen again. So the next plan of action is we need to remove some of this stuff here to be able to expose the mechanism in the head, or at least enough to know what wires go to where. Because you can see this is the connector, so there's a bunch of wiring. But we need to figure out the head turn motor so we can test to see if power is getting to the motor itself. So what I'm going to do here is try to peel up this mask. See if we could just get in there. So right here we can see that this has to be the head turn motor. It's the only one that makes sense. And we've got orange right here and yellow are the 2 wires that control that motor. So we got to test that right now. So going back to the main module, I'm going to take some of these leads here with some open ends on there, and we are going to connect them to the leads on the main harness. So we want to see if power is actually getting to the motor here. So first I want to check for continuity, so I'm going to flip this over here. Trace where the wires come in, which might be a little more complicated than I thought. So I have zeroed in on those 2 wires and where they connect to the board. So we need to do our little test for continuity here. See if we get a reading. Yes, we do. Let me show you guys. So we just want to make sure all of our connections are good. So we got a reading from this wire to the end lead that I plugged in, and you can see that the ohm meter is measuring resistance. So that's good. We got connection. Let's try the orange wire, make sure the orange wire is getting our reading. It is as well. Alright, so I just got some alligator clips. I don't have to hold it. But here's our meter, and we are going to check to see if we get any reading from those wires. So let's turn her on. There's a little bit of voltage. Everything's resetting. So this should move a little bit. See, it went back there, so the head moved the one way, it going the other way. Goes back. Let's just hold this down. There it goes again. Back. Alright. Back. That goes again. Turn her off. So that's awesome. That is great to see. It doesn't seem like the circuit board is busted in any way, and we don't have to mess with that. So it's either a connection problem, or I'm thinking maybe the motor is just stuck. Maybe the motor got stuck. That sometimes happens with props. We might try just to manually turn it a little bit to see if that fixes the problem, but let's jump to that. So I just plugged her back in. I want to see if she does anything, if just to see. That tilts back, up. Yeah. So still nothing from those motors. So I got the head off. It should just slide out now. Why was that so difficult? Oh, they screwed that in? That's actually crazy. So here is the motor in question. We know that power is getting from the board to these wires, so it's something with the motor. I'm going to take out the motor here. I believe it's all just gear driven, so I'm really hoping it's very simple to just take off. or it might actually have a belt in there. I'm really not sure. Hoping it doesn't, just for the sake of my sanity. But you can see it's got a bunch of ceramic capacitors as well as a normal ultraferric. And I don't know, maybe the motor's bad. The motor might be bad. And so this is a good example of something that can happen here. The motor might be acting up, but the circuit board is still okay. But since the motor is not moving when it should be, that could ultimately result in a little bit of a short circuit, which could lead to board damage. So this is why when an animatronic of yours is not working, you should stop activating it, because you might end up causing more damage in the future. That's my take anyways. Yeah, so this is not coming out. So we'll see. So once again, I want to check for some more continuity, making sure that the wiring from here goes all the way to the motor. So we are going to once again take the yellow wire and just make sure that there's connection here. I was on voltage, so I wasn't getting anything, that's why. But let's see here. Oh, we got a reading for the yellow wire. What about the orange wire? Got a reading there too. Okay, so power is getting, or continuity is all the way up to here. That leads me to believe that there's something wrong with that motor in there. So now we are going to have to take that out. So now we got to disassemble this. So the first thing we have to do is take off this mouth mechanism. So this piece just slides right off, which it shouldn't do that. I think there should be a screw here, so I'll have to add that back in eventually at some point. But now I'm gonna do this. Well, there might be our problem here. It looks like some of her hair has gotten stuck in the motor. Unfortunately, that means I need to find the belt, because I just pulled out the belt, so I gotta somehow figure out how to get in there. But I bet you it's gonna work now. So this is all tied up, and that makes perfect sense. If the motor is under too much stress, it will not move. So let's check her out now. So I pulled off this, there were 3 screws on this piece that retains this whole plastic mech so that you could get into the main drive here. And here's the rubber band. And there is your pulley with a bunch of hair stuck to it. So we want to get that all cleaned out to make sure that that doesn't happen anytime soon. So now we need to get this motor back into its spot, but before we do that, we need to clean off all of this threading. Okie dokie, so that seems to have fixed our problem here. So now we just got to put this motor back into where it belongs. Lock it in. Now we just take our belt here, put it on these pulleys, like so. Now we need to line this all up again. So how this went on is this goes like that. That all got locked in place, and then we got to pull all these wires through this retaining clip. There we go. So now I think is a good time to check to make sure this all works. You see what happened here? Still annoying. I gotta resolder that now. Alright, so moment of truth. There we go, look at that. It just worked. So it should do everything now. There's the mouth, head tilt. Good, good. Perfect, tail tilt. Easy, side to side. Perfect. We'll shut her off. Alright, she works. So we can now put her back together. Let's put the mouth flap back on here. I'm gonna get a screw or something for this one. Maybe we can make that a little tighter. Here we go. Alright, so I got that hole lined up. It was easier than I expected it to be. Alright, let's see if she works now. Head turn. Good. Perfect. Wonderful. I'm going to turn her off before she jumps out. So that means that she is basically good to go. I'm just going to throw this base back together, and I will be back with you, hopefully with her all set up and seeing her fully restored. All right, so there she is. She's all put back together. Let's try her out. So I just got batteries in her. She can't work off of the adapter, but batteries work fine. So there she goes. This is her head turn. Let's see her work. So that was fine. Mint. She keeps looking at me. So there is Rosemary. That was probably one of the most easy restorations I've ever encountered. I really didn't have to do anything. Some hair getting tangled up, that happens sometimes, and then I don't know what happened with the lurching part. I think something was just out of sync, but that I was expecting to have to work on like the circuit board and replace some transistors. I was thinking the thing got wet at some point, but that was not the case. The most hardest part was just taking everything apart and just remembering where all the screws went to. Hopefully that helps you guys out a little bit on your little restoration endeavors that you might have to go through. I was hoping to teach and show more in this video, but sometimes it's very simple. So I guess it just goes to show that if sometimes an animatronic isn't working for you, that it's not always worst case scenario. It could be something very simple, like the hair getting stuck in the pulley. But that is Rosemary Zombie Girl's restoration video. So now I got two fully working ones. I need to find another foot for her, but I'll find that eventually. That'll be all right. But I don't know what I'm going to do with this one. Maybe I'll just keep it. Maybe I'll use this one instead, keep my other one in pristine shape. But that is all for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.